Well, the Hoosiers from Indiana University are your national champions. Let that sink in for a little bit. First of all, congratulations to Indiana and thank you to Indiana because now we don't have to listen to Miami fan talking about a national championship for an entire year. There was a lot that went on from the start of the playoffs all the way up until the end. And with the conclusion of the playoffs, we've learned a few things. First of all, the format sucks. The format just absolutely sucks. Teams with a bye in the last 2 years went 1-8, and that the one win was Indiana, and then they got two more wins as they went on to win their national championship. So 3-8, if you want to talk about that. But one team, conference champions, it's the same thing. Indiana's the only conference champion that has won a game in the playoff. I mean, it's unbelievable. We had 1 versus 10 last year. We had 8 versus 9. We know that with the 12 teams, Miami had a chance to win the national championship. We had an 8 seed win the championship last year. They beat a 9 seed. So we know that if we get the 12 right teams in, then any one of those teams can win it all. But we got these group of 5 teams in, JMU and Tulane. There's no chance. They have no chance of winning a game, let alone winning the national championship. So get the group of 5 teams out of there. It just, I don't care. People, oh, it's a nice story. It's good. They won their conference champions. We'll talk about that later. But they need their own playoff. Give them their own playoff. Get them out of there. Get the 12 best teams in there. Secondly, to piggyback off of that, the timing of it sucks. What are we doing when you got teams that are sitting for 21 days? And then playing and then sitting for another 2 weeks and then playing again. A week off in between the first and second round is ridiculous. 21 days in between the conference championship games and the second round is ridiculous. What you need to do is you have the end of the season, you have your Saturday for the Army Navy game, and then following week you start the playoff. And then let's move on from there. The other part is like, what are we doing opening the transfer portal and letting coaches interview and hire and everything else before the season's even over? You had half of college football entered the portal, and then some of these dudes are visiting the school that they just left. It just doesn't make any sense. So they're not playing in the playoff. They're not playing in the bowl games. You got the other guys that didn't make the playoffs that are sitting out of bowl games because they're getting ready for the draft and everything. It's unbelievable. And the coaches, why you've got Lane Kiffin that leaves and he's poaching his staff at a team that had a shot at winning it all. You got Summerall who's stayed on to coach his team, even though he got hired at Florida. Then you got the dude at JMU is doing the exact same thing. You got assistants that are interviewing for jobs, trying to see if they're going to follow the coach that just left or stay at their university instead of preparing for the games that are going on. And these are playoff games. It's ridiculous. And another side point too. Also, if you're playing college football, maybe you should be enrolled in some type of class at the university. Maybe you should actually be a student at the university, and whatever it is, it doesn't matter. You put them in a personal finance class, put them in a personal marketing class, put them in a class that's going to show them how to deal with NIL and all whatever. Give them something to do that's associated with the university. Carson Beck hadn't taken a class for 2 years. His last year at Georgia, he didn't take a class. Then he transfers to Miami for what? What did he transfer there for? Just to play football? I mean, if that's the case, then what are we even doing? I'm old enough to remember when coaches had to teach a class and be a member of the faculty to be a coach. Bobby Knight was the last one that actually kept this up. He still had a class going on for years after that rule was taken away. But that part's ridiculous. Also, there's this talk about the SEC, the Big Ten, wanting to expand the playoffs from 12 teams. The SEC says 16. Big Ten's like, yeah, that's good, but we want to be able to get it to 2014. That's stupid. 12 teams works as long as you get the 12 best teams in. Rank the teams, based on a computer system and a tie break system. Take the top 12 teams based on that ranking, and then let's seed them that way, and let's go with the playoff. And then that way you've got 12 teams all with a chance to win it all. And the other thing that we see throughout this whole entire bowl season and the playoffs and everything else, there's a lot of things that have become irrelevant in college football. Whether it's because of NIL, whether it's because of the playoffs, whether it's because of the transfer portal, whatever. But one of the things that's completely irrelevant at this point is bowl games. Bowl games are pointless. If they're not part of the playoff, they don't matter. Half the team is either gone to the portal or they're prepping for the draft. And if you do get players playing, then they're playing with backups the whole entire time. Even the playoff games that are at bowl sites have no turnout because asking a fan base to potentially travel 3 times is stupid. I mean, Miami traveled over 8,000 miles, and the championship game was at their home stadium, and they still traveled over 8,000 miles. The first 2 rounds need to be on campus games. You can start at the semifinal and then utilize bowl games at that point in time. Any of the other bowls should be used for the lower division tournaments and just be done with it, because nobody's filling these stadiums. Nobody's going to these games, and they can't be making any money. There's no way. There's no way these bowls are making any money at this point. And another thing that's become irrelevant, and we see it, is conference championship games. They're irrelevant. Let's go back to the days before we had bloated conferences and that cause for championship games, and just the team that has the best record and all the tiebreakers in the regular season is your conference champion. Get rid of the conference championship games. No team that has only one team that's won the conference championship has won a game in the playoff, and no team that has made the conference championship and lost has made it to the national championship. Okay. So, only 2 of the 8 have even advanced. And so we're going to just go back to the ranking and the tiebreaker system, get your conference championship that way like we used to do, and be done with the conference championship games. They don't matter. You got one conference that has Virginia and Duke, a 5-loss team that wins their conference championship. What are we doing? And then the other ones that are in the conference championships, the SEC, the Big Ten, and all that, aside from Indiana, who's the anomaly in all of this, they just don't win any games in the playoff. So why are we even having this? And to that point, conferences are irrelevant. I mean, they don't make sense. They're so bloated. You've got Oregon, Washington, UCLA, and USC in the Big Ten now, and we're calling those Big Ten teams. Ooh, big teams ranked in the Big Ten. No, they're not Big Ten teams. Okay. And Texas, Oklahoma, these teams that now, move from the Big 12 over to the SEC, they're SEC teams, SEC. No, they're not SEC teams. There's conference realignment happens every single year. It doesn't matter. There's no loyalty. It's not like when you had 10 teams in the Big 10 and 10 teams in the Pac-10, and the Big 8 was actually 8 teams. That's when conferences, you had pride in your conference. You played the teams in your conference. Now you don't even play half the teams that are in the conference. Realignment changes this, and there's teams that have been in 3 different conferences over the past 5 years. So what are we doing? What does that even matter? Congratulations, Indiana. You got good right at the time when college football, as we know it, is spiraling out of control. It is not even recognizable anymore. But hey, you had a great year.